What's up, everybody? Happy Tuesday. Today we are, moving right along with our personal narratives. Okay, um, so here we are. Yesterday, we talked about the brainstorm sheet. Hopefully, you got that done, and you're ready for step 2. Okay, so again, the biggest thing with the brainstorm sheet: identifying the problem, and the lesson and conclusion. Now, you should, in your story, towards the beginning, probably event 2 to 3, you should have stated your problem in the story that the reader should know that there's not a, once we get to this graphic organizer, there's not going to be a spot that says, okay, write your problem down, because it should just kind of organically come up as you tell your story. So again, links are right here. You're not going to have to go dig through resources to find those. I'll show you guys what the blank one looks like and explain the directions, and then I'll show you what mine looks like. So this one, and there's not like requirements for how much information you need, but you have the event numbers down here. Let me read it. Okay, let me read. I'm getting ahead of myself. So graphic organizer for narratives. For each of the 7 events on your brainstorming sheet, expand on them below. Let me move myself. Describe the event surroundings. So anything a character would see or experience, things that happen to them. Maybe describe the main character's reactions. This is your reactions as you tell the story. What did you think, feel, do, and say? Describe the other character's reactions. What did they say, feel, do? Make sure to give yourself enough information to use on your draft stage. So here's event 1. You're going to fill out these 3 boxes: the event surroundings, your reactions, and then the other characters, their actions and reactions. So between these 3 boxes, you should at least have enough to build a paragraph off of. I think the best thing to do is, between the 3 boxes, include too much information. And then when you get to your paragraph stage, your drafting stage, you only pick the most important things, right? Because I think that's the best way to tell a story like this, is only include the most important information, and leave things out that maybe aren't crucial to telling your story. And again, you might be changing some of the things that you put on your brainstorm sheet, and then you might be adding things in that weren't included in your brainstorm sheet, which you definitely should be doing, because now we're getting to the stage where, I don't think you could take one of those bullet points from your brainstorm sheet and build a paragraph off of. I don't think you can. It's probably not enough information, but you should be able to take one of these rows and have more than enough information to build a paragraph. So that's what yours will look like. Again, it's blank, so you can just type in, fill in these things: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Now, I have an 8 and 9 down here. If you chose to have more than 7 events, this is where you're going to put that information in, okay? But you only needed 7. That was a minimum requirement, which I don't think is bad. I think if you only have 7, I mean, mine only has 7. I don't think that's a bad thing. Let me show you mine. Now, mine looks like a lot because, again, I was just kind of like spilling out ideas that I had kind of as I remembered this event. I was kind of like putting out everything that kind of popped into my head as I went through it. And I'll say that this whole process probably took me 20 to 25 minutes, okay? Which it looks like a lot, but again, you're writing about something that you experienced. So it's not like you have to go and do research or anything like that. Maybe you might talk to somebody and ask them, if they remembered something that you kind of forgot about. But at the end of the day, no one's fact checking this. So do what you need to do to tell your story. You might have to embellish some things. You might have to leave some parts out. Again, this is your story. Okay, tell it in the best way that you can. So I'm going to go through, let's see. I'm going to go through the first couple. I don't need to read all this to you. Okay. I think that you guys, for one, you can read it on your own, in your own time. I don't want to use this time of you watching the video. I'm just reading this stuff word for word. I don't think I need to. And then, I think after the first couple of things, you guys can get an idea. I'm actually going to read paragraphs 2 and 3. Okay. So the event surroundings for event 2, which would be paragraph 2 for now, still at my house, just listing that. It's not how I'm going to say it in my story. Keep this in mind. How you have things written here are not, this isn't going to be how you're going to write them out in a draft. You're not going to write everything from this box and everything from this box and everything from this box and call it a paragraph. You got to mix and match these things. But just again, this is about getting ideas down, getting them on this paper. Still at my house. Got up from the couch and go and check my phone. Hurried up and got dressed. Left the house with the TV still on. So again, this is kind of in order, but you might not be knowing just from this box why I hurried and got dressed and left after I checked my phone. That's what these boxes do, okay? So I decided to go check my phone. I felt surprised and nervous when I saw so many missed calls and voicemails. Once I heard the news, I felt a sense of dread. I called my mom. She explained some of what happened. I remember wanting to puke after hearing. So once I heard what happened, it's just like how terrible I felt, right? Just so kind of uncertain, scared, nervous, and everything. And then other people's reactions. Eli was sitting on the couch and was into the movie. Again, we were watching the Avengers. Jackie finally explained that Sonny had been attacked by a dog. Jackie and my parents were rushing Sonny to the hospital, so that's what they were doing. Everyone I spoke to was very frantic. And then in my paragraph, I'm going to give examples of that. Again, keep in mind these 3 things, these 3 boxes, you should have a ton of information. People who in the past have struggled with this assignment, I'll look through these boxes and it'll just say like nervous and scared, nervous and excited, right? Just these really like childish, like 1 and 2 word descriptions of what characters were doing and saying. And then when they came to write their paragraphs would reflect that. They'd be really weak. They wouldn't have that robust context, that you need to have when you're telling a personal narrative, right? You have to, as the writer, you got to fill in the blanks for us because we don't know everything that goes on in the background, everything that led up to these things. So you really got to include that information so you can come up and have a strong, clear picture of what you're trying to say. So paragraph 3, left my house, got in the car. And I said it was sunny around 9 a.m. I might include that in the story. I don't know. This is just kind of more for me. Got to my sister-in-law's house and dropped Eli off. That I will include because at some point in the story, Eli isn't around anymore. And the reader needs to know why. Cardinal Glen in the emergency room lobby, and then the emergency room where Sonny was. So these are just the different places where I am, what I kind of saw and experienced. I felt very stressed as I traveled to the hospital. I went like 90 miles an hour the whole way. I remember and this is like a super clear thing. I remember to this day, I just wanted to see him. I just wanted to see him. And then I knew I would feel better no matter how bad it was. And it was bad. And I felt very upset when I did see him and the wounds he had on his face. And it was bad. It was worse than I expected. But it did feel better just to see him and get to be around him, as his parent, because you're thinking about how scared he probably was. And that says, I was talking to him. And again, I remember he said, no, I'll get to this in a minute, but he was able to talk to us and just like carry on a conversation. I think they gave him like medicine that made him feel really relaxed. I'll say that. My mom and dad seemed super guilty and kept apologizing about it. Just some background. Like, again, they were babysitting them and it happened at their house. So they felt really terrible about it. And, we were telling them, over and over, it wasn't their fault. It wasn't like they did anything wrong. It just happened. But you could tell they felt really bad. Jackie was upset and she seemed really scared. I could just tell by like the look she gave me, when I walked in the room. Then my son, he said, "Hi, Daddy." As soon as I walked in, which was made me feel a little bit better. And then he seemed scared, like he seemed a little shook up, but he wasn't crying or anything. He wasn't in pain. Again, they gave him some medicine, which I think knocked him out pretty well. But so that's my 3rd event. Again, I'm not going to read through all of these, but just kind of remind you guys of a few things. And you're going to kind of, reading from this box to this box to this box, it seems like you're kind of out of order. What I want you to think of is like beginning of the paragraph to the end for what you experienced. Beginning of the paragraph to the end for things that you thought, did, and said. And then for the same thing, but for everybody else, the beginning of the paragraph to the end. Okay, so they're kind of in order from top to bottom, not from, left to right. When you write your paragraph for, let's say, event 3, I'm going to be skipping around from these boxes because, before I left the house, or let me go to this. Yeah, so I left the house, and then I might have described something I felt before I get to the next spot here. And then maybe somebody else had an interaction with them that happened next, chronologically from beginning to end. Then I need to throw in there. And then some, in the past, I've also had some people say for maybe one event in their story, they were the only character involved. So they don't really have anything to put in this box. And what I would say is if it was just you somewhere, then that's what you need to write about. Leave this box blank if it doesn't apply to that specific event. But make sure you have enough. You better get really introspective, I'll say, in this middle box, and give a lot of information about what you saw, felt, did, thought about, things like that. And then same thing with the settings, right? And again, you're going through mine, event 1, I'm just establishing things and setting up the story. So after this paragraph, the reader should know what the setting is, who the characters are, and then kind of what the tone is, the mood of the story. Like if it's a funny story, if it's a more serious story. And I think reading my paragraph, you would have all those things. So let's make sure that after the first body paragraph, they know where it's happening, when it's happening, and then who the characters involved are. By paragraph 2, you should start to introduce the problem. We should know what the problem is by paragraph 2, if not paragraph 3. Because if you only got 7 events, that only gives you, 3 paragraphs to completely get it solved, which isn't much. So I think by the second paragraph, you should have introduced the problem. Okay. So I think that's pretty much it for today. When you're doing yours, I would have my example open in a different tab. Not that you can copy and paste this stuff because my story didn't happen to you, but just so you can kind of see how I structured these things. I think that'll be really helpful. And then if you're trying to do that and you're still having trouble, ask questions, ask me, or it might be easier to just Zoom with me. I had a student a couple weeks ago to Zoom with me, and they shared their screen so I could see what they had written and everything like that, and kind of talk them through some things. So if you want to do that, let me know. Let me know what I need to do and how I can help you along through this process. Again, this took me about 25 minutes or so. It might take you longer, but it's important to have this done by Wednesday or Thursday. Tomorrow, we're just talking about the introduction and conclusions. So it's not too much, but yeah, make sure you guys got that done and that you're staying caught up. Yeah, other than that, I'll see you guys tomorrow, Wednesday.